To understand how the US Navy launches its carriers, you need to go to the only place on Earth where it's even possible. Newport News Shipbuilding in Virginia. This is no ordinary shipyard. Stretching along the James River, it has been building America's steel titans for over a century. Submarines, destroyers, carriers, all forged here. But among its many structures, one stands above all others. Dry Dock 12. It is more than 2,000 feet long and 250 feet wide. To put that in perspective, you could line up nearly 500 school buses inside and still have space to spare. This is where the USS John F. Kennedy CVN-79 was born. Unlike most ships, which are built in sections and then welded together, an aircraft carrier is a beast of a different kind. Construction begins with keel blocks, massive concrete and wood supports engineered to hold the ship's full weight for years. On these blocks, the Kennedy sat as thousands of workers began the slow, methodical process of building her piece by piece. Steel plates became the hull, compartments were welded, miles of electrical cables were threaded, pipes, weapons mounts, radar systems, and eventually the enormous flight deck took shape. Every part of the ship was measured to microscopic precision, because mistakes here don't just cost money, they cost lives at sea. This was not the work of a few hundred men. More than 3,200 shipbuilders and 2,000 suppliers from across America contributed to the Kennedy. Steel from the Midwest, electronics from the West Coast, precision radar systems from New England. This was a national project. And that's why every aircraft carrier is more than a warship. It's America itself, forged in steel. The Day of Awakening. For years, the Kennedy remained motionless, supported by her keel blocks. But eventually came the moment of truth. Flooding the dry dock. August 18th, 2025. Workers prepared for one of the most nerve-wracking, historic steps in carrier construction. To the untrained eye, flooding a dry dock looks simple. Open the gates, let water pour in, and watch the ship float. But that's not how it works. Flooding is done in precise stages, carefully measured and monitored over several days. At first, just 10 feet of water entered, enough to reach the base of the keel blocks. Engineers ran critical tests, making sure the ship responded exactly as expected. Then, more water was let in slowly. Inch by inch, the steel city began to stir. For the first time in years, the Kennedy felt the laws of buoyancy. Her immense weight began to shift from the blocks to the water. By the end, over 100 million gallons of water filled the dock, enough to fill 150 Olympic swimming pools. And in that moment, something incredible happened. The Kennedy floated free. A steel fortress worth billions was no longer bound by concrete. She was alive, precision in motion. But floating is just the beginning. Next came one of the most delicate maneuvers in naval engineering, moving the Kennedy within the dock. Imagine steering a 1,092-foot-long ship, taller than many skyscrapers laid on their side, inside a confined concrete box. The margin for error, millimeters. A scrape, a bump, even the smallest mistake could cost millions in damage. Tugboats, pilots, and advanced positioning systems worked together like surgeons. Slowly, carefully, the Kennedy was guided to the west end of the dock, where she would undergo more testing before her christening. It was like watching a giant being steered by invisible hands. Every movement rehearsed, every calculation exact. On September 7th, 2025, Pearl Harbor Day, the Kennedy will be officially christened. Caroline Kennedy, daughter of the late President John F. Kennedy, shattered a bottle of champagne against the ship's bow. It was more than ceremony. 52 years earlier, she had christened the first USS John F. Kennedy. Now, she passed the torch to a new generation. From that moment, the Kennedy was not just a construction project. She was a warship. From shipyard to sea. After launch, the real transformation begins. Outfitting, testing, and sea trials turn the floating shell into a fully armed fortress of war. The Ford-class carriers, like the Kennedy, are packed with revolutionary technology. The most famous? EMALS, the electromagnetic aircraft launch system. For decades, US carriers relied on steam catapults to hurl jets into the air. Effective, but limited. Emails changed everything. Instead of steam, electromagnetic force propels the aircraft, giving smoother acceleration, reducing stress on both planes and pilots. That means more launches, less maintenance, and the ability to handle everything from unmanned drones to heavy stealth fighters. Emails recharges faster, allowing the Kennedy to launch up to 25% more sorties than her predecessors. And when it comes to war, more sorties mean more firepower. The Ford class also uses advanced arresting gear, nuclear propulsion that allows 25 years of service without refueling, and a design that requires 25% fewer crew members. Together, these innovations make the Ford class the most efficient, powerful, and future-proof carriers ever built. Why it matters. The scale of this achievement is hard to comprehend. Building one carrier supports hundreds of thousands of jobs across the United States. Every weld, every component, every system ties communities together in a web of national defense, and the impact doesn't stop at home. When a US carrier sails, the world notices. Allies see a shield, enemies see a warning. These floating cities project American power anywhere on Earth, and they do so without relying on foreign bases. Critics point to the cost. And yes, Ford-class carriers are expensive, but ask yourself, what is the price of global reach? Without carriers, America would need dozens of permanent overseas bases, fleets of transport planes, and entire divisions deployed abroad. Carriers are different. They are sovereign US territory that moves. They are diplomacy backed by overwhelming force. The future of giants. The Kennedy is just one of many. USS Enterprise, USS Doris Miller, and future Ford-class carriers are already in construction, each one more advanced than the last. And here's the most remarkable part. These carriers are built with future technology in mind. Today, they only use half their nuclear-generated electrical power. The rest is reserved for systems not even invented yet. Directed energy weapons, advanced radars, railguns, and technologies we can barely imagine today. These ships are not just for the wars of today. They are built for the wars of tomorrow. A symbol of resolve. When 100 million gallons of water lifted the USS John F. Kennedy from her keel blocks, she became more than steel. She became a promise of strength, of reach, of America's ability to protect its allies and deter its enemies. Launching a US Navy aircraft carrier is not just about engineering. It is about what America stands for: precision, perseverance, and unmatched excellence. As long as these giants rise from our docks, one thing is certain: the seas belong to the United States Navy. If you were inspired by this story of ingenuity and naval dominance, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video. And tell us in the comments, do you believe aircraft carriers will remain the ultimate symbol of military power in the 21st century? Or will new technologies rewrite the future of naval warfare?